We'll see if that's the case for the Southeast Asia Oceania tournament. We're getting the players ready, set to go in the lobby, and then we can continue our way into this tournament. There's 4 players left.
Almost there. And then we get to see who the first champion of this region is going to be. SEAO, who's going to take it home.
SEAO. We've seen so many different countries and regions represented here, but this is going to be a face-off against 2 similar nationalities. Wuikiki versus Maosama, and it looks like Forest heads up against Control Sword. This is going to be a real test, right?
This is. And I honestly want to say that this matchup is probably very hard for an aggro Forestcraft deck because of the way that Wuikiki built his deck. It's all about healing, it's all about wards, it's all about rush.
The Israfil effect is very, very strong.
Yes, it is. That if we go to 7+, I'm pretty sure it's going to be impossible for Maosama to break through the wall. But Maosama does have a deck that can win before turn 7, so let's see if he can pull it off here.
Grimner is going to be very good. We talk about a card that is flexible. The 2-3 ward stat line is incredible in the early game. Maosama does have the Airbound Barrage, but because it is ward, it means that it's going to stop any kind of face and then bounce play that you can find.
Will have to happen first.
Double Elf Song in hand.
Maosama never worried about emptying his hand. Does have an Airbound Barrage.
I mean, I can see it 2 ways, right? Your fairies are never going to be more powerful than as the games go on.
That's true.
Right? And so there are other ways to get into your Elf Song in the later stages, and so maybe just saying, hey, I'm just going to play out my hand now and see how it goes.
I like it. There's actually a couple different things he can do here. I think smashing
the fairy?
Okay. It looks like he's going to go with the other play. So the other play I was thinking is Water Fairy in, and you can save.
This is good because you get an Elf Song.
Yeah. Either way, you end with 3 followers with an Elf Song. I think the other way, though, you don't use the Airbound Barrage. So I kind of like not using a little bit better, but this is definitely not a bad play.
That is very true. You are correct.
However, this new addition to Swordcraft, yet another card that heals Sword and puts out a nice little beefy board. Unfortunately, not as beefy as that Elf Song board that Maosama has just presented.
And he can Elf Song again.
And again. He's got Leafman 2 at his beck and call. Leafman not at its best against Swordcraft, at least not until the later turns, turn 7 or so.
Yeah. Oh, this is a beefy board, plus a fairy to tack things on at the end.
Yeah.
And you can spend an evolution orb to kind of get rid of that healing option.
Yep. One of the biggest benefits is that whenever any officers come into play, when Frontline Cavalier is in play, you gain your defense back. So you got to get it off the table.
He's got 2 different Alberts. He's got 2 of 3. Oinky, oinky.
Best voice line, best picture. Look at that kingly pig.
Oh my gosh.
Look at it.
Oh my goodness. That looks nothing like the picture I drew.
Kingly.
Man, look at that fairy. Is beef. That fairy was beef.
Oh my goodness. And just the ever-flowing elf songs here. Leafman for another push for damage. I think Maosama has a great hand. I think he's going to be able to finish this game before Wuikiki can come back. However, those happy pigs, if evolved, when they die, gain back 3 defense. So this is nothing to snuff at.
That's huge. And we talked about, the options with respect to the Control Forestcraft list that we saw. We talked about these early game options to give you healing, and you mentioned Happy Pig was a big one. We might see the fruits of that kind of inclusion right now.
That's right. White Ridge Swordsman, another good option as well. It does produce a ward, and it can basically take something out with oh, okay. So not saving this. Wants to get full value out of the Elf Song here. Interesting.
He's got a very wide board, and Wuikiki, I think... Can he make it past this point?
So can gain 6 defense, go back to 8 while dealing with 2 of the biggest followers. However, there are a lot of big followers left, and 8 is exactly the amount of damage left in play after that play. And you can't do the Happy Pig with a ward. So White Ridge Swordsman is the only other option. So you play that, you take out a big follower, you take out another one with Happy Pig, you go to 5. And then White Ridge Swordsman, yes, I think that's the only play. Now, it's not a guaranteed.
There he is.
stay alive type of play, but it's the best option he has, so he's got to make it. And you can see the sweat on Wuikiki's face.
Yeah.
Does not like the position he's in.
Yeah. White Ridge
Oh,
Swordsman. Oh
okay.
my god.
And that's
Oh
not it.
my god. The
Perfect
turn
option
7
on the
fairy
perfect
driver.
turn. So good.
Turn 7 is when everybody comes out to play.
That's right.
Wow.
Don't call me Hector. I'm Fairy Driver.
Yeah.
Let's close this game out.
Fairy Driver for the second time. We talked about how Fairy Driver is tough because on playpoint 4 it's not really card. On playpoint 5 it's not really card. You really have to look at it as a 6 playpoint and above play, right? Kind of like how Roach is not an early game pick,
right.
you know? And in many ways, Nature's Guidance is not either, right?
Right.
Fairy Driver is very much in the same boat, but when you draw into it in a situation like that,
amazing.
That's better than you could have ever hoped.
Doesn't get any better than that. Aggro 4 showing that it still has a place in competitive play. Love it.
Yeah. Even the Happy Pig was not quite enough to heal Wuikiki out of that. I don't know what other hands. I mean, that was a pretty beautiful hand for Maosama. Triple Elf Song and constantly having tokens.
It doesn't get any better than that. Plus the top deck Fairy Driver to actually drive it home on the turn that he needed it to is so good.
I like it. You
so
are a wordsmith. Daria.
Okay.
No.
Double Insight into Ogler is not a bad start.
Would really like to see the Daria in 3, 2, 1.
All right, there you go. All right, Rainy is not cursed after all. Can call the Darius to hand at will.
It had to happen at least once.
It did. It did. And this is finally a good draw with it. He's got insight into Mysterian Knowledge, like just a sweet curve. Oh, and another Mysterian Knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty much. I mean, you're always taking a kind of a pseudo risk every time you draw. You know.
Right.
But not the worst. You know, there's a lot of things to spell boost, and it's very likely. I mean, Daria is one of the most expensive spells to boost. So by the time you can play Daria, you can play everything else.
Absolutely. And probably looking for a Mysterian not circle. Probably the missile variant. But getting the circle for ward is not the worst thing by any means.
And the Ogler. That's a spell boost that we're talking about. You actually can get some very speedy plays on these Daria turns if you hit the curve, and he definitely did.
This is about as fast as it comes. This is just like old Daria. You can get it off as early as turn 4 if you'd like.
And it's very strong because on the draw means you get a turn 4 Daria plus the Evolution Orb.
Yep.
For an even bigger tempo swing and an even more difficult board to handle.
This works too. Get all the value you can. A little misordering there. Could have gotten ward on both of those, I believe. If you play the play the Mysterian Circle second.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. So maybe you know some nerves kicking in for Wuikiki here. These are very nerve-wracking games.
Or
and he
just
has to
elated at the fact that his hand is so great. He says, "Oh my
Right.
God, it's time to play!
That's
I can
right.
have this Ogler behind 2 wars."
Now, the longer he takes playing this Daria, the more... Oh, my goodness. Another Prince Catacomb, too. The more of a board that Maosama's just going to keep continuing to have, so...
Yeah. Now, he has a turn where he can Chimera and Daria, but he's not going to have play points to spend afterwards. And that Demon Eater is just such a thorn in the side of any follower in that scenario.
Ooh.
Okay, so he can Insight, but I don't think there's much of a point to.
Yeah. Gambling with the Insight to draw into something like an Ogler right now would be devastating. But getting rid of both of those mutagenic bolts can't feel good either.
Yep.
Ooh. Got another Daria and a Wizardess of Oz. Okay, probably just going to be re-Dariaing here. I don't think that Wizardess of Oz is going to get too much value, especially with the 2 mutagenic bolts like we saw are gone now.
So on play point 6, we would look at possibilities for Odile, but it's not actually the most comfortable. This is probably the first one that has actually hit a wall. Yeah,
Odile does not feel too good here. There's not really any which way that you can manage this board for Odile to clear everything, unfortunately. However,
suppose you could Larial Catacomb. When you leave the 4/4, this is an example of Daria presenting a board that is just a little bit too big.
Yeah. And this is without any Oglers. If there were a couple Oglers on the back of this as well, it would have been a pretty insane turn. Looks like Odile is still the play here. And there is a Kawi waiting in the wings here.
Yeah. That Kawi's going to be very big. We'll be able to clear board and do 2 to face. but that's the last evolution orb for Maosama.
Wait, he did clear the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
He evolved the skeleton, swung into the Daria, but again, I think Maosama has just conceded all tempo to Wuikiki. Still
right.
2 evolution orbs left on the side of Wuikiki, and I think if Wuikiki plays a very disciplined game and doesn't try to evolve to go over phase 2 early and give the Kawi a big kind of heal, I think Wuikiki just rides his options out.
Okay, it's going to be tough, though. I mean, Maosama is doing a really good job of continuing to put board presence that is really hard to take away.
To me, it's a question of if you can hit that point where you swing so much damage that you just go over what your opponent is doing.
Right.
You got the Blade Mage into the Daria into something else possibly, and the Piercing Rune. I mean, this is a lot. This is a lot coming down the field.
That's right. Piercing Rune to do 2 extra damage.
Yep.
And the Daria waiting in the wings. This and the Wizardess of Oz can really play the Wizardess of Oz first, but again, that makes the Daria maybe a little bit worse. So it really just depends.
Yeah. I mean, I think you play the Daria, right? If you hit Blade Mages or something like that, you get even more powerful.
Okay.
Okay.
Another Piercing Rune and 2 Magic Missiles found here, so a good amount of damage, especially with 4 going face right now. I think this might be enough to just kind of boil the game over here, even with a Kawi being played.
I think it's going to be very tough if you just Magic Missile. So let's figure out the Kawi turn, right? If you Kawi and throw into the 4/4.
So so the Kawi gets attacked by just the Daria. We're going to have to see how he trades here first.
Judgment for heretics like you.
Right. You can't actually control how this goes because you don't have the evolution orb.
Right. So
there's going to heal for 5 basically. I don't think there's any way around that.
Right. So in play, we see 8 plus an Evo. It's just lethal on board. Kawi not even good enough this game.
Yeah. There it is. Daria having such a huge swing. And that's really the strength of coming into a Daria, getting to play point 7 or 8, and the fact that you spell boost it 5 times gives you such a kind of upper ground in terms of spell boosting. The benefit of having a 0-cost Daria, a 0-cost Blade Mage, you can play spells alongside the roll that you get in your hand.
You're just doing so much more than your opponent in any given turn that it's just really hard to come back from, even with a Kawi at the end of the game. So my mindset has been flipping a little bit here, but a deck that only runs like a single copy of Kawi, not going to be as defensive as we saw the Reanimate Shadowcraft list, of course.
And again, keep in mind, this was basically the perfect Daria curve.
Right. Yeah, and it was actually the perfect. And he didn't even play it on the perfect turn, right?
Yes.
He got it down to 4 play points on turn 4, but opted to go for more defensive route. Could have played it a little bit better, obviously, with the extra ward or anything like that, but just wanted to get as much value out of his hand as he could. Executed perfectly, and then he just rolled into another Daria, and then it was just kind of like, okay, just too much value, too fast. Can't deal.
Yeah.
And this is the big one. Can Swordcraft beat Shadowcraft? So we already saw Swordcraft beat basically decks that we wouldn't think it would beat before.
It was
like
able
Burn
to
Runecraft.
beat Burn Rune. That's right.
And if it could beat Shadowcraft here, I mean, man, Sword?
I believe in it.
Huh?
I believe because there's rush in hand.
That's right, as Igni would say. Rush is good, Storm is good.
The Lancer on the early rush is, I mean, I think it's good. But the 1 defense means it trades out against almost anything.
Ooh, okay, Grimnir. Let's see if Belinus can get the good trade or if he just wants a Zombie Party. I think Zombie Party is probably the play here.
Yeah.
And you can make a value trade.
Yep. Always very nice. But that's 1 Zombie Party down.
And Belinus is so good here, right? Like, even you can't even trade it into the Belinus because it'll die. So it needs to get value off the Goblin here.
Yeah, Belinus is one of those cards that it essentially is, with a few restrictions, it has kind of a Tove-esque reach.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because oftentimes you see the stat line of 3 for 3/2, 3 play points for 3/2.
That's right.
The Belinus is like a 2 for 3/2 kind of change, right?
And in some cases even better because it can knock out 2 followers.
Divide that damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Luminous Mage. Luminous Mage is one of those cards that's never really going to be bad. It's just, is its home good enough? And that's what we're finding out today. So far, Swordcraft has looked pretty good.
Yeah. Free evolution orbs, I'll take that any day.
Yeah.
Off a body that is not... I mean, I guess its stats are pretty gimped, but because you always evolve it.
So both classes doing exactly what they want to do. Evolving Luminous Mages, evolving Andrialphus for card draw.
Yeah. This is going to be a very grindy game, which I almost think is kind of nice for Wuikiki, right?
Absolutely. He wants the game to go long. However, with the new Shadowcraft, the way it plays, it wants to go long too, so it really just depends. I mean, they both have an Albert play now, right? Albert, of course, a turn faster than Aisha.
It is interesting to think about Aisha chunking twice in the attack rather than doing 10 overall. It means that you take 8 damage as opposed to 10, whereas if you did 10 straight, you would only take 4. Significant. Very, very significant.
It's true. Plus the fact that Aisha doesn't require an evolution orb at all to just use. It's just it's crazy good.
Yeah. So frontline Cavalier is going to be the choice here, and that's going to knock 1 evolution orb down. And it's interesting because the Luminous Mage does not replenish an orb.
Right.
Right. So you either have to have the Luminous Mage in play to be able to evolve an Albert after you're done with the orbs, or you have to continuously play the Luminous Mage and preserve your orbs.
Right.
To get to that point.
Absolutely right. But as we talked about before, got to get this frontline Cavalier off the board. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to gain value time after time, especially if, you know, cards like Geno are drawn and pop out 2 more officers and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, and this does not feel great. I feel like this evolution does not feel like what you want to be spending your 3 orbs on.
Right, so basically expending all of the removal that Maosama has access to on just the frontline Cavalier board. Very interesting choice.
Very expensive trade. Now I think you start to think about things like, okay, well, I have the enhanced cost fulfilled now. Have still Luminous Mages. And I think that's going to give you a good kind of 7 play point, 8 play point game plan.
Yeah, I like it. Just preserving Evo points, going into Albert turns, stuff like that. Now, both players still have very healthy defense totals here. So it's really just going to be, like you said, it's going to be a grinding game who can basically just overpower each other's board. Of course, that Andrialphus is playing a huge role here, turning all of these cards into card draw.
Yeah, and that's going to be really big. I mean, Maosama is certainly going to hit a good option for himself in just a bit.
Ooh.
Like that.
No 8 shadows, though, for the extra value that Ektar would gain. And we've been seeing that with the Shadowcraft decks. Like, Ektar has just been okay. Still really good, but just not the big powerhouse that we all cried about, you know, in seasons past.
It's interesting. How do you treat this evolution orb if you're Maosama? Is it worth doing something like throwing the balance in there to get the 2 for 1? Is it worth using that?
No. This turn is not an evolution turn. I don't think you can afford to. You can clear board as it stands. No reason to waste any resources, especially because if your opponent still has an evolution orb, it feels really bad to give yours last
Especially
one up
going
first.
to a control deck, too, right? How worth it is that 5 points of damage?
Plus, like, the tough stuff is if that Lurching Corpse wasn't drawn, or even after it's getting played, if that gets dealt with, you know, by this Lancer, the Tempest, probably a really good play here. It will KO both sides of the board. However, after evolution orbs are done, if that White Ridge Swordsman comes out on defense, that's a really big sticky play to like get around. It's really tough. And these Naval Guard Simones are going to come into play too. I mean, honestly, Wuikiki could just play these for like a lot of value as well in the late game.
He's
really
got
like
a
that
very
addition.
good hand.
Yeah, I really like the addition. It's just it gives him more options in the late game.
Yeah, that Lancer was very, very good.
Yeah, very high value. I'm just interested to know at how Maosama is going to get these first 10 points of damage in. It just looks so hard with what Wuikiki has.
Got another Cavalier as well, but probably the Evolution Orb is not going to survive until that point. Because I feel like there's no reason to hold back on options like Albert when you don't already have card draw in your hand anyways.
Not only that, like, without actually healing anything, it's not really an option you want to play because even without Evolve, you can still play it alongside other officers to gain some defense back. So I think just holding it is a good option here.
Oh, man. Got another Demon Eater. That's going to give him more card advantage. It's very important at this time, and it activates at least 3 damage and up to a lot more.
Ooh, and here's a second Aisha. So now a different game plan opens up for Maosama. Can actually just end the game in short order, actually, if he can build up the shadows and just keep maintaining a board after the first Aisha. So we talked about this last week. So last week there was a player that had 2 Aishas, had a very straightforward game plan of playing the first Aisha and then building up to 10 shadows and playing the second, but gave it away.
Yes.
Ended up losing the game because of it. I don't want to see Maosama make the same mistake.
I think there's an opportunity. I think you play the Kawi. You can even evolve the Lyrial and go for a lot of face damage here. Because if you're going to play the Aishas on the next 2 turns, where are you going to spend your evolve, right? So I feel like the Lyrial get the +3 damage as opposed to +2. Feels very good. And you're behind this Kawi.
I don't mind the no evolution here either, especially now that we've seen Wuikiki has drawn his Bahamut. Now, playing Bahamut will heal Maosama, but Maosama's still at 19, so it's not that big of a deal.
And you kind of get rid of a lot of the options. The Skull Ring is going to bring something back.
Something.
And the Bahamut is not going to persist, so that doesn't feel the greatest.
When you're against Skull Ring, you always cross your fingers that that Demon Eater comes back. When you're the Shadowcraft player, you're usually looking for something like Andrialphus or Lurching Corpse.
Lurching Corpse, yeah, that we did
Belenus
see.
even. There are a lot of good 2-drop options to come back.
Wuikiki is having to think very hard, and I think this is a very important turn. Because whatever happens as a result of something like a Bahamut drop, is really going to change the way that this game plays.
That's right, Bahamut being played. Going to get removed here.
And here it comes. Oh my god!
Take that, you Shadowcraft player. You dirty Shadowcraft player.
Oh
Take
no,
it.
I forgot you were going for Wuikiki, but he still has to deal with this issue of Aishas coming down quick.
I love it. Maosama knows the game plan that I'm talking about. Aishas are your endgame play. Use them as such. And now all Maosama has to do is get back up to 10 shadows before Wuikiki can muster up any damage.
Frontline Cavalier for the healing.
Gaze upon the white ridge sword.
Nice. I really like this combo.
Very good combo. Gains some defense back. Put up a nice big ward with Bane that you have to get through.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such a good effect.
Yeah. Very good combination of cards. I mean, like, as weird as it sounds, I think the best play is something like Ektar plus Zombie Party just to take out the White Ridge Swordsman and then Evo over the Frontline Cavalier to get the healing away.
You definitely need to hamper the healing, especially before he can get above 10.
Yep. Oh yeah, you can play the Goblin too, even better. Never mind. So now you can use the Zombie Party a little bit better. Oh, he's going to go in with the Andrialphus also. Okay.
I think this can provide an option for the Andrialphus to card draw. Which is great. Okay.
Gets more shadows out faster as well.
Can't quite... Okay, he can evolve. Yes.
Yep. Would do that.
This is looking really good.
Yeah. Not sure how Wuikiki now. He's in the position of, I don't really know how he's going to get the damage in that he needs.
Yeah. Albert will be able to get rid of Ektar, and Aisha can't storm yet. Or... oh no, it can't storm. Wait, I can't remember. It can't storm? Is it Necromancy? Or
So,
is it enhance?
enhances
a
storm, so that's going to be it.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah. There it is.
Necromancy is it evolves, and on evolve it can attack twice. That's right.
Twice on the Necromancy.
Maosama taking that
Wow.
one down. Swordcraft gone. Unfortunate.
Off the back of Mid-Shadow. Now, when we think about Control Sword and kind of what options it has, what are the things that we would have wanted to see earlier or kind of...
Well, here's the big problem, especially when you play a defensive lineup going all the way up the curve. Mid-range Swordcraft, and the reason why we haven't really seen it be prominent lately is because it really can't get their opponents down to 10, and even if it can't...